My lords, today I'm going to detail every unique ship design that we have encountered across the galaxy. As some of you may be aware, there are 15 common ship designs, which range from humanoid to machine to plantoid to aquatic. But beyond the common designs, I've identified 21 unique ship designs. I shall list each of the unique ships that we know of and describe how we acquired them. And I do need to thank both Admiral Tails and Idyllic Bloomer for their assistance with identifying these unique ships. I'll begin with the Sunken Cruiser, from the event designated eloquently Submerged Cruiser. To put it simply, we found an alien battlecruiser lying beneath the waves of a newly settled planet, Jarvis 392. Salvaging the vessel was arduous, but absolutely worth it, for what we managed to dredge out of the ocean was a reasonably advanced cruiser. According to the ship's databanks, the cruiser was named the CNS Seafallen, and it was a Sword-class warship. The warship was equipped with a variety of energy weapons, 3 banks of disruptors, 3 banks of gamma lasers, and 2 plasma cannons. The ship was heavily shielded with a small amount of armor. It was a marvelous find, and as a bonus, its design is both unique and incredibly appealing to the eye. The second unique ship to discuss is that of Cetana's Titan-class warship. Cetana the Synthetic Queen has a long and detailed history which I've covered elsewhere. You can find it in the archive if you wish. Her flagship vessel, however, is without doubt the single most powerful warship in the entire galaxy. I won't go into Cetana's history here, it's far too long. Just know that she was once a fanatical cultist obsessed with freeing the galaxy from suffering by annihilating all life so they can no longer suffer. Some incredibly spiritualistic logic there. Regardless of her motives, she is incredibly powerful. As stated, her ship is the most powerful warship in the galaxy, and it's not even a close thing. Offensive capabilities first. Her Titan comes equipped with 8 hangar bays, which sport strikecraft of a far superior design to the best that we can manage by some margin, 6 ancient ruination glares. These are archaeotech, ancient laser weapons capable of melting through the strongest armor, and 7 banks of gamma lasers. To round it off, her warship is also capable of cracking planets with its colossal planet killer weapons array. The damage that Cetana can inflict from this ship rivals most empires' entire navies. However, her defensive capabilities far outstrip her ability to output damage. Cetana can take punishment like nothing else the galaxy has ever witnessed. A Citadel is our strongest defensive space station. It has a Commonwealth certified hull strength of 80,000 megapascals. For context, Cetana's warship is 25 times more durable, at 2 million megapascals. For more context, she is 556 times more durable than a standard Commonwealth battleship, even when it has an upgraded hull. Further to this, Cetana's armor is completely hardened. Nothing we possess can penetrate it, and if that wasn't enough, she can auto-repair during combat. It's as if her ship is alive. When it takes damage, a swarm of nanites will appear and begin repairing it at a ridiculously fast pace. It's awfully difficult to quantify just how strong Cetana's warship is. We think it very likely that we could have over 100 battleships with tachyon lancers firing on full power and still not be able to overcome her self-replication abilities. Thank Shroud for the animator of clay, lest we would never have been able to defeat her. Despite the fact that I'm discussing unique ships today, there is not one other on this list that even comes close to Cetana's power. Next up, we have a people's favourite, the only psionic robot in the galaxy, Warform S.875. We found the Warform aboard a wrecked warship half submerged in a toxic swamp on the 5th planet in the Helios system. We chose to attempt to extract the warship from the planet's hostile environment, and once we had pulled it out of the swamp and got it into a repair station, we found it had corroded components and a fully discharged power core. We subsequently went about repairing and replacing the components where necessary and recharging the power core. When the hulking warship was powered back on and had regained its operative status, it swiftly became evident that the machine possessed a notable degree of artificial intelligence, and began to communicate with us. The machine told us that it was isolated from its command unit and was unable to escape its predicament as it sank further into the swamp. The machine had been stuck here for 1.7 million planetary rotations before its reserve generators failed. It faced gradual molecular dissolution due to the hostile environment, and yet somehow it persisted. As we showed good faith in repairing it, Warform stated that we were essentially the makers, and it wished to serve us. Thus, we accepted it into the Commonwealth of Man, and Warform now patrols one of our more dangerous and active borders. What we discovered at a later date was that Warform had some sort of relationship with the Shroud entity, the Animator of Clay. It appears that the Animator saved the Warform from dissolution. To what end we can only guess. Warform's unique vessel is a Corvette class. It comes equipped with a single plasma cannon, a single disruptor, and a medium-sized railgun. It is equally shielded and armoured, and has a particularly high level of evasion. Perhaps as one might expect from a Corvette-class vessel. Now we move on to an incredibly unique ship, the Sublight probe. The Sublight probe is technically a ship. Before we established a fleet of faster-than-light exploration vessels, several Sublight exploration probes were dispatched from Unity at near relativistic speeds towards other systems. The scientists who developed the probes naively included sensitive information about our culture in their memory cores as a form of greeting to alien civilizations. This was before our pivot into a more xenophobic society. It was soon realized that this data could potentially be used against us. Thus, we set about tracking down the probes before they were found by someone, or something, unsympathetic to our species. In any case, the detailed information they held on our culture is now safe from prying alien photoreceptors, and as a bonus with their combined sensor telemetry, we've been able to fully survey a number of additional neighbouring systems. The probes themselves are a unique design. They are not shielded in any way, have extremely minor armour, but do come equipped with two surprisingly powerful energy weapons, considering the ship's overall power source. Fifth on this list is the science ship the Vivarium, which belongs to the legendary Paragon leader, Azaryn. Astro Creator Azaryn is one of the 5 legendary Paragons, and she contacted us out of the blue, and after an odd interrogation opted to join our empire. You can find more detail about Azaryn in another of my reports, but know that she is a scientist of exceptional quality, and her ship has the unique ability to terraform planets, even planets we originally thought were completely uninhabitable. Her ship is unique and takes the form of a space Vivarium. It has no offensive capabilities, but it is remarkably durable for what is essentially a science ship. Its hull is 133 times stronger than that of a regular Commonwealth science vessel. Remarkable indeed. But the most interesting part of her ship is the Terraformation Nuclei Initiator, which somehow is linked to the Astro Creator herself. We have no idea how it works, and unless she lets us study it, we probably never will. The next unique starship to discuss came from the event that we've designated as Radical Cult. This was a time in our history which occurred over a century ago, not long after we established our first fleet of FTL warships. Many centuries ago, a group of radical priests and their devoted followers on Unity broke away from the established religions to form their own church. These extremists called themselves the Temple of Unity and were responsible for many atrocities and acts of terror over those early years. Although in modern times they kept a low profile, in the early 23rd century, many of their agents had infiltrated our military. These renegades secretly diverted resources to the construction of a small, hidden fleet of starships at a factory on Unity. When the treachery was revealed, the cultist ships blasted into orbit and fled our star system. We picked up faint ion trails leading to several outlying systems. After we found several cultist ships and destroyed them, we discovered that the cultists had been using an automated shipyard to reinforce their numbers. The shipyard used alien templates found within the station memory banks, and of course we could not allow this to continue. We quickly identified the alien shipyard location and destroyed it. Some of the cultists were captured when their escape pods were picked up by our forces, one of which included the chief engineer. His knowledge of the alien ship's advanced weaponry was most valuable, but we also learned that the cultist's charismatic leader had departed the shipyard several weeks ago on a newly produced flagship, a far more powerful variant of the alien ships that we had already been fighting. Deep space reconnaissance probes picked up a faint subspace emission, and the cultist's missing flagship was the most probable source. As such, we made haste for this system in order to end the cultists for good. We eventually tracked down the cultist leader. She was aboard a battleship, a divine glory-class ship called the Dawn of Creation. It was a most unusual design, having 2 large blue laser weapon banks and 3 medium-sized laser banks. The vessel was only moderately defended, with only a minimal amount of armour and 3 shield arrays. The ship was quickly disabled, and after a boarding action, slowly fighting their way deck by deck, our marines managed to eradicate the last pockets of resistance. On this former flagship we took few prisoners. Most cultists threw their lives away in a futile suicidal attack. We did, however, manage to secure the battleship, though we're not quite sure what to do with it. For now, the Dawn of Creation remains anchored in orbit of Olympus, and we think it will probably stay there for some time. The Beholder, although just more than a ship, is unique enough to be on this list. We found the Beholder on a pre-FTL planet, stuck and in need of assistance. As with others on this list, I won't go too deep into the details here, but know that we provided the assistance required to get the Beholder off planet and back into space. Once back in space, it opened communications with us and told us that it wished to observe and serve in our empire. We later learned that the Beholder was actually a psionic entity that occupies the Murming monolith and has the ability to impart psionic traits on non-psionic populations. A truly remarkable feat. In terms of its capability as a warship, it is fairly lacking, but it has one key ability. The Beholder, via a Shroud-borne shield suppressor, suppresses every shield in the star system it's situated in. Thus, it can offer an incredible utility. If used and escorted properly, an appropriately outfitted warfleet, i.e. one with large armour and armour-busting focus, can dominate fleet engagements as the enemy will find themselves without shielding. The Beholder's weapons are also of the Shroud, similar to Cloud Lightning, but with more of a psionic property. The ship is not the strongest by any means, but used properly by a skilled admiral, it could devastate the enemy. The ancient Dreadnaught can be found roaming the galaxy. It's entirely automated and will attack on sight. It's fairly dangerous, but can be overcome with proper planning. Once disabled, we repaired the vessel and repurposed it for our own fleet. It is a remarkable ship and an entirely unique design. The Dreadnaught is equipped with a Titan Lance, which is similar to the Peridition beam on a Titan-class warship. It has 7 banks of large plasma cannons and 3 smaller ones, on top of 3 banks of Sentinel point defense. But the Dreadnaught's party piece is in its defensive capabilities. It has significant hull and is heavily armoured, but that's to be expected with a ship of its size. What the Dreadnaught has though is a shield array that is remarkably powerful, offering more defensive output than its hull and armour combined and doubled. We really should assign a science team to try and figure out how its shields are so strong. Now on to another legendary paragon, that of Admiral Skrand Sharpbeak's warship, the Talon. Like the other paragons in this list, you can find a full account of them elsewhere in the archives, but we're here to discuss the warship, the Talon, which is extremely capable. The Talon is far more lavishly equipped than a regular battleship, both offensively and defensively. Skrand's ship comes equipped with 6 hangar bays which house a uniquely designed strike craft of an exceptional quality, 4 large torpedo launchers, 3 large Gauss cannons, 5 banks of autocannons, and 4 banks of point defense. The vessel is lavishly armoured and shielded with the best components available in the galaxy, and when commanded by Skrand himself, is an extremely potent weapon. Now on to the Nomads, which have not 1 but 2 unique ship designs that aren't found elsewhere in the galaxy. The first is the Nomad Cruiser, which we can purchase off them if we wish, though it is not by any means the best ship design that we have seen. It is quite pretty. The ship has several quite poor energy weapons and offers very little in the way of shields and armour. The second is an Ark-style vessel, which we assume is where the majority of their population live. It is of a marvellous design, akin to science fiction drawings of old, and it's a shame that we cannot get our hands on one. But continuing the Nomad theme, the Caravaneers also have a unique shipset design. Although this is not entirely unique to one ship, I do think it's worthy of discussion. These vessels come in two forms, cruisers and destroyers, with the destroyers just being slightly smaller. Both ships are equipped with plasma weapons, armour, and a small number of shield emitters, but for what they lack in offensive output, they make up for in design. They are certainly one of the more ostentatiously decorated vessels in the galaxy. AH-4B, Ahab, and Captain Reth Unndol. Learned viewers will recognise the captain of the Ahab, Reth Unndol. We first met Captain Reth after slaying the mighty Tianki matriarch. His ship was swallowed whole by the monster, and he was unable to get out until we burnt some holes in the beast. Upon meeting him, he had the following to say. I am Captain Reth Unndol of the AH-4B. Long have I suffered in the bowels of that fell beast. I came to hunt it, to repay a debt long overdue. Alas, I could not lay this baleful matriarch to an end, and when she swallowed my ship whole, I was certain I would never see the light of the stars again. I am glad to see I was mistaken. For putting my nightmare to rest, I pledge my life and loyalty to you. The Ahab is a battle-class vessel. It has 4 banks of plasma cannons and the same number of torpedo launchers, and finally has a colossal autocannon. The vessel is lavishly equipped with equal amounts of armour and shields, and the final point to make on this one is that it is incredibly aggressive looking. Despite the ship's size, Reth appears to crew it himself. Quite the feat. The next rare and unique ship design is the Vol Destroyer. This is the ship linked to the event designated Pari Didaya. The Pari Didaya system was found after excavating an ancient space hulk. Records found aboard the space hulk led us to a previously unmapped system. It contained little of note beyond a barren world, but we took time to investigate the system properly. And what we discovered was remarkable. A cloaked world was hidden to us, and it was a large Gaia world containing a Stone Age civilization called the Maridak Vol. It must also be stated that this planet was exceptionally beautiful. Not long after we had built a starbase in the system, another empire arrived in an attempt to purge the Stone Age civilization on the planet. We refused and wiped out the would-be aggressors. Motives remain unknown, but despite this unpleasantness, they attacked us with unique ship design. It was a destroyer-class ship with no shields and kinetic weapons only. It was in reality incredibly weak, and they were fools to attack us at all. Now we discuss the Horizon Needle from the Cosmogenesis Crisis Path. The Horizon Needle represents one of the final steps in your path to exploring strange new galaxies via the Cosmogenesis Crisis Path. It is the ship that will pierce reality itself via entry into a black hole and take your people to their new home. The Horizon Needle has no offensive capabilities, but its durability and defense makes up for this. The key feature of the Horizon Needle is the Exodus module. This is a highly specialized reality editing tool, and the Exodus module will ensure that passengers never run out of space or time. It is the key component for the Horizon Needle to travel safely to other dimensions, and I would advise picking the black hole that you enter carefully, as they are definitely not all the same. Eagar Empire explorers, according to our records, also appear to use a unique ship set. Both their exploration vessels and engineering vessels use designs unlike we have ever seen grace our galaxy before. Both of the vessels are less well equipped than a regular science and engineering class vessel, but they do have a remarkable yet rudimentary jump drive technology. This means that they cannot access the hyperlane network, but they can jump between systems, at a very short range I should add. They are of course not on this list due to the technical specifications, but because they are a unique and wonderful design, and it is a shame that we do not see them elsewhere in our galaxy. Next up, we have what is possibly the best looking ship in our galaxy. Upon identifying a drifting vessel devoid of all signs of life, we sent an away team to investigate. They uncovered what was clearly a murder scene, but only one crew member remained aboard. They were a long-eared amphibian biped who had been stabbed repeatedly. Bizarre and grisly, but furthermore, the ship that was left behind had wonderfully advanced engines. It is without a doubt one of the best looking ship designs we have ever come across. But in a very odd turn of events, we found what appears to be at first glance an identical ship, but on closer inspection is a little different and a little smaller. This near identical ship was filed as the Ouroboros event, and I shall detail this report for you now. The irradiated fragments the ISS Arbiter detected in close orbit of the planet Sanctity appeared to be the remains of a spacefaring vessel, with a distinctive design. The vessel matched no known records, but we did manage to extract some data from the ship's damaged computer. It was recorded in an alien language like nothing we had ever seen before, and one that we were currently unable to translate. However, by studying the remains, we did postulate that the craft is known as the Kohtalo, and it has suffered a navigational error when exiting FTL, bringing it too close to the gravity well of the system's star. Large portions of the ship were stripped apart. There were no survivors. Soon after we discovered this ship, sensors reported another ship with seemingly identical properties to the unique one that we had just discovered, and this ship hailed us. The crew of the strange ship that was identical to the wreck appeared excited to speak to us, though we still could not decode their language. They identified themselves with a low-frequency verbal expression that sounded an awful lot like the Kohtalo. Sadly, the translation difficulties continued, but we did manage to draw a conclusion that they were explorers from another galaxy. Their ship's complete lack of weapons supported this theory. We chose to send them footage of our explorations on our own journeys beyond our solar system. The reaction from the alien crew appeared to be jubilant. Following the positive reaction, we decided to send them data recovered from the wreck that we had discovered, and the excitement of the crew quickly evaporated. Multiple members began to tap away at the consoles. Using their tentacle-like appendages, they transmitted what looked to be like their passenger manifest, navigational data and crew logs. Without a doubt, the data matched that of the wreck that we found to the letter, with one exception. The wreck contained further entries with later dates. It would appear that the crashed ship that we found is the same one that we find before us, but only much older. Despite their alien mannerisms, their consternation was evident, and yet it was clear to me that any information that we provided may have unforeseen consequences. Nevertheless, we felt they should be warned, so we told them of their impending doom. The aliens began hurriedly poring over the system's data that we sent them, speaking in their strange language and entering a flurry of commands in their consoles. We waited patiently for a reply, but before it could come, the ship's engines began to power up, and before we could react, they vanished. Several months passed, and our system sensors once again indicated that the extra-dimensional exploration vessel had appeared in our system. As before, the vessel exited FTL, but abruptly this time, and collided head-on with a comet. The collision was disastrous enough to kill everybody aboard, and has sent the remaining wreckage spiralling towards the system, spiraling in towards the system star. It would appear that it was in fact the comet and not the pulsar that was responsible for the ship's demise, and in our effort to warn them of their fate, we seem to have caused it. And finally, these last three unique designs were found deep in the Voltum archives. And frankly, my lords, I shouldn't even know that these exist. The first we managed to actually find in our galaxy, though it was completely inaccessible. It's simply designated as Event Ship 03. We don't understand the context behind the name, only that it does not appear to be tied to any specific event. Nevertheless, it is a truly wonderful design, and is steeped in mystery at this point. Two more designs were available to us via images. We have not found these in the galaxy, and are not even sure that they exist. We don't know who made them, and the why is totally unknown. but we do know that the Volta managed to data mine them somehow. Concerning indeed. Thanks for watching, folks, and thanks again to Admiral Tales and Idyllic Bloomer for their assistance with this report. If you want to learn about the Elgate timeline, then please click the video on screen now.